Things just got worse and worse and worse as the night went on. Again, valiant effort down the stretch for the Bucks. Just too little, too late. Let's go down and let's see what Coach Fletch and the rest of the crew has to say. As always, go Bulls. So let's head into the locker room right now and see what the guys have to say about that one. Wow. Where do the Buccaneers go from here? What an incredible atmosphere. What a good win for the Tampa Bay Lightning. They snapped a 7-game winning streak. How we feeling, Bucs Nation? It's time to party, baby.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Recher podcast. Happy October 2nd, 2025 to you and yours. Hope everybody's having a wonderful day, whether you're here in the Tampa Bay area or abroad. I don't know. Some days, like, I'm a little, more melancholy. Some days I'm a little more jacked up and I'm pumped up. And I didn't know what today was going to be, but as soon as the microphone was right in front of me, baby, I was ready to go. I am as happy as anybody, except one person we're blaming, Janet Best, 20 miles to seafood and shenanigans in Key West. Shame on you, Janet, for not inviting anybody else from the Recher podcast to join you in Key West, one of my favorite places in the entire world. I used to live with my buddy Tag and his lovely wife, Alicia, and she is from Key West. They actually live back down there now. And we went over there when I lived with them, man, like every other weekend. I love Key West and had such a great time down there. And it was, for me, as a guy that grew up on Long Island, it was a completely different kind of lifestyle. I miss it. And thanks for the invite, Janet. Dang it. Number one, Big Benny, Bad Benny in the house. What's up, Jaybirds? We were thinking about that for a while, right? Like, what should be the name for the people that listen or watch the show? The Jaybird seems to have, I don't know. Some people may think that it's a derogatory meaning, but I don't think so. The Jaybirds. Jaybird in the Hizity house, our guy David Terry, Bad Benny, he knows the deal. He knows the deal. That is for sure. Everybody's showing love. Look at Robert Cochran in the house. How we doing, buddy? Jacked up for Friday night. I know you are too, Robert. USF and Charlotte ready to roll. Game one of the American slate. Got to keep rolling. Greg the Cruz outraged at the Casey Hudson issue. I mentioned this on the program yesterday. I'll mention it again today. I just don't know what is wrong with people, and showing some extreme love to our good friend Casey Hudson up there in Boston, working for Nesson, dealing with some bullshit up there. We love her. She'll always be a Tampa girl through and through. But yeah, there's no place for that kind of hate and misogynistic behavior. David Terry, you're going to have to deal with it, buddy. It's the way it goes. The Recher's Wreckers. Yeah, you never know, Greg. I don't hate it. Make sure you follow me on all social media platforms: Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, Instagram. I am everywhere. Like and subscribe on YouTube. A big thank you to our partners here on the program: Honest Hammer Custom Builders, LLC, 813-244-0956. Give them a shout. Evara Health. We'll have the Evara Health Injury Report at 12:30 with Dr. Rodriguez here on the program. What a great start to our partnership with Evara Health last week with Dr. Rodriguez joining us. It's going to be even better every single week. And dealing with all of the injuries with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I mean, you just look at it and you think about it. This injury report segment that we're doing every Thursday at 12:30. I mean, my God, it is absolutely perfect timing. So Dr. Rodriguez, at 12:30 today, we're going to talk about Baker. We're going to talk about Bucky. We're going to talk about Tyreek Hill, saying he'll be ready for the start of next year. I don't know if that's necessarily possible. A slew of other injuries to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, including when we could see Mike Evans again. So we'll talk to Dr. Rodriguez at 12:30. At 1:15 today, our guy Ben Pierce, the beat writer for our Tampa Bay Lightning, joins us live from Amalie Arena. Another preseason matchup tonight with the Panthers. We are literally 1 week away from regular season hockey as your Tampa Bay Lightning host the Ottawa Senators on opening night at Benchmark International Arena. It's not Amalie, baby. It's Benchmark International Arena. I'll be in the building, and hopefully you will be too. Love you all, man. Thank you for all the love and support. We'll talk some MLB playoffs. We'll talk about, we got some news. It looks like Emeka Egbuka named NFL Offensive Rookie of the Month. How great is that? Let me see. Talking about this now. Hold on, man. When news comes out like this, I'm definitely tagging it up on Twitter to make sure everybody gets here. Unbelievable, man. And listen, the report, you guys know my sources. My sources told me that Rick Stroud and Greg Allman are going to be in play to suit up at nickel for the Bucs on Sunday in Seattle. These guys know the team inside and out. I think Tampa Bay will be okay. We talk about next man up mentality, but they said no, that's not true. And it's nice to have fun on social media every once in a while. But a big honor for Emeka Egbuka, Rookie of the Month on the offensive side of the football. Defensively, it's Xavier Watts for the Atlanta Falcons. So, I mean, the kid's been incredible. And, man, I mean, the NFC South doing their thing. Unbelievable. 1 week to go, Benny says. Robert, there's going to be a lot of people that are going to continually call it the Ice Palace. Some people I know still call it the Tampa Bay Times Forum. Really not yet, buddy, about the shirts and the memberships. The guy that's doing it for my website, he's finishing it up. And once he gets the link, I'm going to be able to put it on my website. And then we put on the website, we will be ready to go. And I want to unveil that and the memberships at the same time. Should be fun, man. Emeka Egbuka, Rookie of the Month. And again, we had this conversation before the season started where I didn't necessarily think that it was a necessity to draft a wide receiver at that spot, but you never know. You really never know when you deal with injuries in the National Football League. You don't know what position is going to get hit. You don't know what position is going to really turn from a position of depth to a position, I don't want to say weakness, but just a lack of depth in the wide receiver spot, losing so many guys with Jalen McMillan and not having Chris Godwin and Mike Evans being out, and Emeka Egbuka, what he's been able to do, Sterling Shepard, what he's been able to do, and where would they be? And you're right, Greg DeCruz, where would they be without Double E? And that's another reason why we thought that we should have thought Emeka Egbuka was going to be a big factor for this team, is because he's another Double E. He's in there with Eric Erlinson. He's in there with Eddie Encina. He's Emeka Egbuka. He's one of the Double E's. We got some strong Double E's here in the TV. I love that. What's up, Jay and everyone? Dolan in the house. He is here. And everybody out there, while you're watching, kill that like button, whether you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter/X. Kill that like button. Robert's asking a key question. How long is Bucky out? So here's the thing. We're going to talk about this with Dr. Rodriguez at 12:30 with our Evara Health Injury Report. But keep this in mind. Yesterday, Bucky was in a boot and on crutches. Todd Bowles said, we'll see about Friday. When he's on Friday, where he's at Friday will depend on whether he's going to be in on Sunday in Seattle or not. Sometimes you see guys in boots, and they're just kind of like walking around and doing their thing, and they may be okay. When a guy is in a boot and on crutches, dude, man, that doesn't look good. That doesn't look good for me. And there's no reason to bring him back. If he's not 100% and ready to roll, don't put him out there. It's just going to make it worse. Now, it's not a Byron Brown situation because what we did hear yesterday on social media from Adam Schefter, the Buccaneers don't think it's going to be long-term. Okay. But it doesn't mean that it's not going to be a couple games. If I had to place a bet, that I would say that Bucky Irving would be out probably 2 of the next 3 games. That's just complete speculation. I don't know. I don't have any, doctorate background, but it just seems like from what he's dealing with the sprain, with the the crutches to go with the boot. Every time I've seen that in the past, the guy's been out for a couple of games. Nothing crazy, but there's just no reason to rush it back. No reason. David Terry says, yeah, keep it out there, man. Keep him out. Keep him out. Dolan and David Terry saying, you got Rashad White. You got Sean Tucker. You got Josh Williams. Don't forget about Josh Williams now. Remember, Josh Williams, right? This is a guy that really impressed the team in the preseason. A rookie running back, undrafted at LSU. He reminds me of Cam Williams. The Buccaneers last year, Cameron Williams this, Cameron Williams that. We don't want to get rid of him. And now we're really starting to see. We saw it a little bit last year when some of the injuries popped up. But Cameron Williams is a guy, and you've seen in special teams in the return game, he's been a factor. That type of belief in a guy, that type of bringing him up when nobody even talks about him, is the same thing with Josh Williams. And we have to trust when the Buccaneers do that the guy's probably pretty good. Robert, this is a totally different situation because we didn't 100% know. A lot of it was speculation with Byram. A little bit different this year when we know it's a foot sprain for Bucky. Williams was electric on kickoff, Greg. You are totally right. Now let's see what we've heard so far is about like all the injuries. Here's Greg Allman's update. Not practicing today. Mike Evans, Bucky Irving, Jamel Dean, Benjamin Morrison, and Christian Izien, who were practicing today, Baker Mayfield, Tristan Wirfs, Levante David, Chris Godwin, Zion McCollum, Hassan Reddick, Tyreek Smith, Logan Hall, Greg Gaines, Charlie Heck, Sterling Shepard. I mean, just the fact that you have to name all of those guys that are in and practicing is wild. Did you guys see the injury report yesterday? I mean, my goodness. Look at this damn thing. Jamel and Mike and Gaines and Irving and Christian Izzy and Baker, Ben, Shepard, Smith, Levante, Logan, Reddick, Wirfs, Godwin. Heck, holy smokes, man. Unbelievable. So many. And then look at theirs. Just a couple guys. Got about 6. I'm sure 4 of them will probably be in, and the guys that won't play won't be that big of a factor. Holy smokes. If I had to take a guess, I would think that from what I'm hearing, Greg Gaines will probably be in. Just going from the top down, I would say Jamel's out, Mike's out, Bucky's out, Izzy's out, Baker's in, Morrison's out, Shepard's in. This is just guesses. Tyke's in, Levante's in, Logan Hall probably be in, Hassan's in, Tristan's in, and then the bottom 3 guys in. That's just my guess. But you have these veteran corners that are going to have to come in. So what do you do? And there's a good point from Greg. We have 2 veteran corners who are on practice squad, Bryce Hall and Kendall Vildor. I mean, you're going to have to be able to tap into that depth. Do you bring those guys in and put them right on the outside and then keep a guy like Jacob Parrish at the nickel position? Maybe. I would say yes, just because they're both veterans. It's not like you're just elevating guys that don't know any better. You're not elevating guys that haven't been there. And I think on other rosters, Bryce Hall and Kendall Vildor, they would have been playing. These guys did pretty well in camp. So they're just a victim of the numbers game because there's a lot of good players on the defensive side of the football. So I'm not too concerned with having them in the games. SRQ Tom in the house. Sergio, what's up, buddy? How are you? We working out kickers and punters. No, they're going to rock with Riley Dixon still. Kickers, no, you don't have to worry about that, man. Chase is back. He is back, baby. Lady Evil, you're right. Looks like a roster sheet, not like an IR. Bryce Hall was a good starter before his injury. Yeah, remember, got hurt in game 1 last season. Jay, we're fortunate that we have good depth at running back, wide receiver, and DB. Yeah, that's one of the things that I know that Jason Light wanted to do this year is have more able-bodied players in case something like this happened. Because we saw last year when you have a situation where a guy goes down, or the inevitable Jamel Dean injury that happens every year, right? It's just like it happens, right? You have to be able to get into a situation where you deal with the injuries. And Jamel, unfortunately, has not been able to really stay healthy for an entire season where you're like, all right, we don't have to worry about it. It's almost like set it and forget it. It hasn't been like that with him. So you have to go out and you got to get a Kendall Vildor. You got to get Bryce, bring Bryce Hall back. And you have to draft guys like Benjamin Morrison and Jacob Parrish. So kudos to Jason Light for making sure that he addressed that situation because it's inevitable. Healthies like Thanos, injuries like Thanos are inevitable. It's going to happen. And I give Jason Light a lot of credit on the defensive side of the ball, addressing the secondary position and going out again, drafting Benjamin Morrison, drafting Jacob Parrish, Bryce Hall, Kendall Vildor, a lot of these guys having them in the mix because you just know guys are going to go down. It's almost a war of attrition. It's almost a situation of not how well you play at certain times in the National Football League season. It's kind of how well you tread water through injuries and how well you kind of sustain and take care of business while your top players are out until how well you play until the cavalry comes back. And then when those guys get back and then you put everything together and then you realize how good your team is. And hopefully for you and your team and your fan base, you go on a long postseason run. A great job to Jason Light for addressing that in the secondary. I mean, he just did an unbelievable job. Rest Bucky. Yep. Yeah, you got that right. First name greatest. Todd Bowles' annual losing streak is coming. Yeah, we're getting in that spot where Bowles is fantastic through the first 4 weeks, and then the next 4 weeks it is really a tough putt. I don't know if you can necessarily put it on Todd Bowles, but I mean, if we're going to give him credit for the first 4 games, then we got to give him some grief a little bit for the second 4 if it's not good. Anybody but Josh Hayes at corner, and that's what we got last year. We got that position last year. We got into that position last year where Josh Hayes, who's a really good player on special teams, he just, he's not at that level where he can play corner. And there was too many times last year where he was kind of that guy where he being out of position or inability to make plays really led to the demise of the Buccaneers defense during certain portions of certain games. I know you're not wrong, buddy. Drafting an injured corner to replace an injured corner. I've been saying this since day one when it came to Benjamin Morrison. Love the kid. Love the ability that he has. But if we're already talking early on in the season, if we're already talking about before the season even starts, well, this is a guy that's had to deal with injury. I don't want to talk about that. I think that's a little bit of a buyer beware type of thing. You don't get healthier as the year goes on. You don't get healthier as your career goes on. It is very, very tough to have a guy like that and to be able to rely on him already dealing with these injuries. I don't like the word potential. And you guys know, if you've watched this show before, I hate the words could and would and should. It's a waste of time. It's a waste of time. And we had this conversation yesterday with Martin Gramatica. I was talking to Ian about this yesterday, about the next man up mentality. Guys in the locker room, they're not even worried about, well, if we had this guy and if we did this and if we could, there's no ifs. There's no coulds. There's no woulds. There's no shoulds. You got to go out there. They're not complaining like Cody. The offensive line aren't sitting around right now like, wish we had Cody Melk back. Can't. Vita Vea is not sitting in his locker like, man, I wish Kalijah Cansey was here. They can't, bro. You can't. You have to be ready. Those guys are killers on the other side. You cannot go into a game thinking about anything else. Those guys, unfortunately, if they can't help you right now, they're out of sight, out of mind. That's it. Not trying to be insensitive, but it really is an next man up mentality. Who can help us? Get in here. It's hard enough to win in the National Football League. It's going to be 10 times worse if you get all up in your feelings and you're worried about people that are not there. That's for the media. That's for the fans. Thank God the teams and the players don't worry about that at all. Just got to hope they can get the 5 wins at the bye, get healthy, and make a run with Evans and Gedeke. Yeah, I don't disagree with you. I think you have to get into a point where I don't want to say maybe steal a game is too strong of a phrase to be able to say. But I think you look at these next couple of games to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and you go, all right, which one of these should you win? Which one of these could you win? Right? For this case, should and could is okay, folks. All right. We're talking about odds and how chances that they can win. But could they win the game against the Seahawks? Yes. Should they? That's a tough putt for a team that's also 3-1. That's won 3 straight going into Seattle. Very tough home field advantage. Home to the 49ers. I think you should win that game. Then you go on the road to Detroit. That's going to be Monday Night Football. That building is going to be rocking on turf. Who's going to be back for that game? How banged up are the Buccaneers going to be? We don't know. Then back on the road to New Orleans the very next week. And then you home to the Patriots. And then you go on the road for the Bills and the Rams. So this is a little bit of a sketchy type of the schedule here. The Buccaneers are going to show what they're made of. I love the stretch down. I love what their record is down or their schedule is down the stretch. Cards, Saints, Falcons, Panthers, Dolphins, Panthers. I think, listen, you go 4-2, 5-1 there, you'll be in a really good spot. But over these next 3 games, damn, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough to go 2-1. Isn't it? Seattle's going to be a bear. If the Buccaneers win this game on Sunday in the Pacific Northwest against this team that is really, I think, coming to understand what Coach McDonald wants, they have so many good players on the defensive side of the ball. I'd feel very confident about this Buccaneers team. They have to listen. They're not going to moan and groan. They're going to be ready to go. They're going to be ready to roll. But it's like Greg says, it's a bottom line business. They're not going to care. A team like the Seattle Seahawks are not going to care about, all right, the injuries that these guys have to deal with. You know, just same thing. Ready to roll. Suit them up. Let's get out there and go. What's up, Jay Bird? This is from our guy, Bart Hill. Got to be 49ers at home. If we can win, I think that's the goal. Sergio's right on it. If we can steal a win this Sunday and beat the 49ers, we're good. First name greatest. Not totally off there. Need 2 wins there. 2-2. But, man, if they're for real, there's still enough there. You still got Baker. You're getting Mike back hopefully in a couple weeks. You still got Godwin. You got Tristan back now. Still have pieces on the defensive side of the ball. I know there's a ton of injuries, but with that being said, I think there's still enough talent there to be able to go toe-to-toe with pretty much anybody in the league. And we saw it this past week with the Philadelphia Eagles, right? If you take away some of those boneheaded plays, I mean, they're right in that game. It's a one-score game. Now, is it going to be tough without Bucky in there? Yeah, 100%. But you have Rashad White and Sean Tucker and Josh Williams to be able to make up for that. I got faith. I certainly do. Sergio, if we can get Evans and McMillan back and we stay healthy with the other wide receivers and RBs and O-line, look out. There you go. All right, let's talk some Lightning hockey real quick. We've got our injury report coming up in a little less than 7 or 8 minutes with our guy, Dr. Rodriguez, here on the program. Can't wait to chat with him. Lightning tonight, back in action there at Benchmark International Arena against the Florida Panthers. We know when it comes to this point of the preseason, you're still not seeing everybody, but you're starting to get closer and starting to get an idea of what these lines are going to look like and who's going to be in their opening night. We saw that the Bolts got rid of, I don't want to say got rid of, but they made some roster moves yesterday, making cuts from camp, sending guys down to Syracuse. I always say down to Syracuse because it's the AHL, but we all know that it's up to Syracuse up there in Western New York. Stahoviak, Sabrin, Schmidt to Syracuse, Abrazesi, Pelletier, and Kachuk on waivers, but all 3 of those guys we think should probably be able to pass through and get up there to Syracuse. Really sad news before we get on to the Bolts talk. Harry Hedman, the pup, the beautiful pup for our guy, Victor Hedman, crossed over the Rainbow Bridge yesterday. And, man, he was just so popular, right? Has there ever been a more popular pet for one of our athletes here in the Tampa Bay area? But he lived one heck of a life, 13, 14 years old. Harry Hedman, the T-shirts with him, and we know the work that Victor Hedman does with the Humane Society. So our thoughts and prayers go out to the entire Hedman family. Just really sad that we lost Harry yesterday. Hetty not skating with the group today. Pontus Holmberg was, which is a positive sign, but a big positive for our Tampa Bay Lightning is that Andrei Vasilevsky was on the ice with the team, taking shots with the team, wasn't in any type of, discomfort or anything like that. You just got to feel good, all right, going forward when it comes to Vazzy. I told you guys he needs to be on the ice on Monday if he's going to be ready for the 9th. But if he's on the ice right now, a week away from opening night, my guess is that he'd be there in the lineup for the Bolts against the Senators. Eric Erlinson joined us on the program yesterday, and he and I discussed about Vazzy is one of those guys is a quick healer. And there's some guys when they come back from injury, you look at him and you go, okay, you got to give him some time, give him a week, give him 2 weeks. They got to knock some of the rust off. But, man, for elite level athletes, it just seems like some of those guys can just hit the ground running. We saw it a couple of years ago with Nikita Kucherov when he missed the entire regular season, then comes back in the playoffs, and it doesn't look like he missed a beat. And some people will say, oh, yeah, they skirted the system and they kind of did it in a, disingenuous type of way. I was there at Amalie Arena early one day, just like 2 weeks before the playoffs, and Cooch was still he was still figuring it out. He's still smooth. He's so smooth and at times aloof, and just at times where he's kind of going about his own thing. He doesn't look like anything's bothering him. He's in the zone. When I saw Kucherov 2 weeks before the playoffs that year, he still looked like he was just like he just got out of bed. You remember how Jameis walked? He's always walking with like a little hitch in his giddy up. That's how Kucherov was skating. And I go, man, I don't know if he's going to be ready for the postseason. He ended up being ready, but it wasn't like, oh, he was fine for 6 weeks and then boom, he was 100% for 6 weeks and then the playoffs started and he was ready to go. That's not what happened. But a great sign from Andrei Vasilevsky on the ice for the Lightning as they get set for their final home preseason game tonight against the Florida Panthers. Here were the lines from this morning. Gensel, Point, Kucherov. All right. Hagel, Cirelli, Gonsalves. You had Gord centering that third line with Oliver Bjorkstrand and Mitchell Chaffee. And then Dominic James was out there with Jack Finley and Connor Geekie on the fourth line. And I've been saying for a while, I would love to see Connor Geekie on the first line with Nikita Kucherov and Braden Point. I think he would offer a similar impact to what Andre Palat did when he was on that line with those guys and winning back-to-back Stanley Cups. And then you have Gensel with Hagel and Cirelli, and then you have Gonsalves with, whether it's Gord or the returning Nick Paul at some point with Oliver Bjorkstrand, and then Chaffee, and now it looks like Finley and James, and we'll see about Pontus Holmberg as well. So it's a great thing for this Tampa Bay Lightning team to be able to have so many different options now than what we've seen the last couple of years. And that's the discussion that the great Phil Esposito and I were having at the preseason game last week. And I told him, and listen, when you say something to a guy that scored 717 goals in the National Hockey League and he totally agrees and he goes, Jay, you're 100% right. It makes you feel good, man. It really does, because he's like, you're on to something. And again, I think I've said it here on the program before. One of the things that really benefited the Florida Panthers the last couple of seasons is they didn't just have 12 forwards and 6 defensemen and 1 goalie. Right? They really were able to utilize their entire team to help them through these long postseason runs. And there were times where Paul Maurice would say, all right, we're just going to change our whole fourth line. 3 guys in, 3 guys out. It's a way to keep guys fresh. It's a way to keep guys understanding that they need to be on their game and they can't rest on their laurels and they can't get complacent. They have to be ready at all times. So it's a multifaceted positive, I think, for these teams to be able to have more than just 12 forwards. And we saw it last year because the Lightning were so close to the salary cap. They were hamstrung. They really didn't have many options when it came to changing their roster. And you wonder if that decision, or if that the way they went about their business last year, if they were able to do it maybe in a little bit of a different way, does that change how the whole Isaac Howard situation unfolds? If they say, hey, we have roster space to be able to move a guy up or move a guy down, and we have a couple of million to play with, does Isaac Howard suit up for the Lightning? Is he in the lineup for them here in the 2025-2026 season? We may never know. But I love that Julian made that a point of emphasis this year. We can't keep doing it the way we're doing. We got to look at what Florida's done well. We got to keep guys fresh. There's got to be some healthy competition within the players on the Tampa Bay Lightning. And I think we're seeing that so far in the preseason. You're seeing in my opinion, a big reason why they are 5-0 in the preseason. Does it directly correlate to regular season success? No, but as Eric said yesterday when he joined us, I think you build those winning habits. And when you build those winning habits, you're able to kind of take that formula, all right, apply it to the players that played in the preseason. Maybe those guys can apply it, or hopefully they would apply it in the regular season, and then you have success. This is the division for the Tampa Bay Lightning to win. Go out there and win this division. Take care of business. Give yourself an opportunity to play one of the wild card teams, so you're not playing the eventual Stanley Cup champion in round 1. Have a clear, concise advantage, not just in talent, home ice advantage, right? Like, help yourself out if you're the Tampa Bay Lightning. And I think by constructing the roster in this way, when you have defensemen like Declan Carlisle and Darren Radish and these guys pushing from the third pairing up, and then you have Pontus Holmberg and Pelletier and Dominic James and Stahoviak and all these different, these other guys pushing from the bottom of the roster. I just, man, the depth, as we see with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, you can never have too much. All right, it's time for what has fastly become my favorite segment on the program. It's the Evara Health Injury Report with our guy, Dr. Carlos Rodriguez. Doc, what's up, buddy? How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I am fantastic, buddy. Thank you so much for your time. As always, I know you're excited. You're a season ticket holder now with the Tampa Bay Lightning. You were on the wait list for a while. How jacked up are you about Thursday night?
I'm great. I'm actually going to the game tonight.
So
I'm
nice.
very jacked up about it. Yeah.
That is amazing. We're going to talk football here in a second, but I wanted to ask you real quick about that injury to Nick Paul because he was dealing with a tear in his left wrist. And we had this conversation last week about Tristan Wirfs and why the Buccaneers waited so late into the offseason to be able to get that surgery done. And when people were asking about Nick Paul, and I was, from my amateur, thought process, I was thinking, well, maybe it was the same thing with Nick Paul because they said that it was an issue last season. Julian Breezewell told us on the final day last year that that's what it was. And now he's dealing with an injury. They didn't disclose what it was, but you'd have to think it's the same thing. Do you think that was the same mindset, doctor, about, hey, it's a tear in your left wrist. If we don't have to get surgery, let's not get surgery. Let's see if it heals on its own. And then when he came back, it didn't heal as they initially thought. Do you think that's what happened?
Yeah, it's been reported as an upper body injury. So as you said, it's undisclosed. So but we're thinking it probably a wrist. So this is probably what we would think is a TFCC. It's a triangular fibrocartilage complex injury. It's essentially a ligament / cartilage that joins your wrist to your forearm. And it sits right here on the pinky side of your wrist.
Oh, so it's on the back side then? Because from what I was talking to some people, I was thinking it on the underside. So probably on the back side, you're saying, by the pinky.
Oh, yeah. So that's where the TFCC is. Now, if he was dealing with some sort of other bony injury here on the thumb side, it's possible. TFCC injuries are very common to drag out for a while. It can be several weeks to months for them to heal up if you treat them without surgery. So he could have been dealing with this most of last season with it. Through the summer, didn't get much better. So at that point, since it's such a long time before it gets better, you go ahead and opt for surgery, fix it up, repair it. Usually after the repair, it's usually a couple of months of recovery. So that will put him on target for that November return.
Yeah, and it'll be great to get him back in the lineup. He's such a tough player as well. And, man, I was just showing everybody, Doc, the injury report for our Tampa Bay Lightning. My goodness, it's pretty wild. It looks like just a roster list for everything. I want to start with Baker Mayfield. It looks like he's probably going to be in there, but he's dealing with a little bit of a biceps injury, it seems like. And I wanted to ask you, as somebody that myself that has dealt with baseball injuries, and I've seen everything with the elbow and the shoulder and every single phrase that goes out there, the biceps injury for him, and I know it's tough to know without exactly knowing what the injury is, but what kind of bicep injury could he be dealing with? And if it's something that is more of a nagging type of thing where it's something where he can injure himself further, what do you think Baker's deal is with his arm and how that could affect his play?
Well, the more common injury to the biceps is a tendonitis. So that's usually here as your biceps comes on and inserts up here on your shoulder area. You can have a tendon inflammation at the insertion point right at the shoulder. So that's the more common thing. It's a little secondary. It could be a mild tear within the head or the belly of the biceps, but usually it might be mostly tendonitis is what I'm thinking. That's the more common thing that occurs on throwing because the biceps has to do a lot of work, especially when you're overhead throwing a baseball or a football. If that's what he's dealing with, and he played with it this past Sunday, mostly it will affect long throws and some strength. So he may not be throwing a lot of bombs down the field because it's going to affect his distance and the strength on that arm. But he still should be able to throw the short passes, to be able to mid passes. Accuracy shouldn't be affected much by it. So it mostly should be more strength more than anything else.
Yeah, and what I brought up, and I try to correlate between some of the things that I've seen on the baseball side, and I said that the throws that he's not able to set his feet and where he just has to rely on his arm strength, where he's possibly rolling out of the pocket and throwing on the run, where he doesn't have that stable base to be able to kind of step into the throw. I think those are the ones we have to be concerned about. Is that correct?
Correct. Yes, because you hit it around the head. When you're able to set your feet, your motion to throw starts right from the turf through your feet, up through your body to your arm. So you have a little more power to it. When you're scrambling, running, or up in the air running, now you're relying really on your upper body and your arm to do the throw. So those are the throws that's going to be a little more difficult when you have a biceps injury.
And you mentioned the turf, and I know we just saw, I think it was Odell Beckham Jr. sent out a tweet the other day because there was 2 injuries, Joe Walt and then Malik Neighbors. Neighbors tears his ACL. What have you heard of? What have you seen in your time, doing this as far as, turf versus the natural grass? Because especially you hear it a lot from up there in New Jersey there at MetLife Stadium, where every single year people are complaining about how terrible the turf is there more than anybody else. But I every time I talk to any kind of athlete, they're like, the turf is a killer, Doc. I mean, what have you seen as far as the difference between the two?
So it's been a long debate, many years. You see studies going back and forth on it. But if you look at it in 2024, there was an article published that looked at the 2021 and the 2022 NFL seasons. And it actually noticed that it was between a 25 to 30% increase in injuries per game on turf versus grass. And it kind of makes a little sense. Grass, dirt will give under a lot of pressure, under a lot of force. The turf doesn't give as easily. So especially lower extremity season-ending injuries tend to be a little more common on turf than they are on grass. Even the Washington University in St. Louis did a study on high schools and found a 58% increase in turf injuries, lower extremity turf injuries compared to grass. So there is some sort of a difference.
That's incredible, man. And I understand why people do it, whether it's cheaper or whether it's because we know that these stadiums are not just for the football games, right? They use them for concerts and all these different things. But man, it's pretty wild. It's pretty wild that there's such a large disparity between the two. And I just don't know if anything like that is it technology? I mean, I know it's weird. Like, do they ever get to do you think they would ever do that? Would they ever get to a point where they come up with different turf? I don't, it just seems like they're kind of dealing with it.
It would make sense that at some point there's going to be some sort of technology, some sort of advancement to make the turf kind of give a little more while remaining stable, just like grass and turf and the dirt do. So I would hope that there's some research going on to make turf better and give even maybe a little flexibility to it. That way you're going to have a decrease in those lower extremity injuries.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And listen, the biggest injury I think people here in the Tampa Bay area are talking about is the injury to Bucky Irving. Not a great sign yesterday at practice, Doc, as he's in there out there in a boot. He's out there on crutches. And I think at times when you're out there and you're watching these guys, and we know football is such a physical sport, sometimes a guy will put a boot on as a precautionary thing and he'll be out there on the weekend. But man, to see him on the crutches and really struggling to move along, I mean, I gave me concern. I mean, how concerned are you about the injury to Bucky Irving? Do you think he'll be in the lineup on Sunday? And if he's not in the lineup on Sunday, from what we know, the little information that we do have, how long do you think he could be out?
So watching the game, I mean, when you look at the video, his foot was caught pointed down right on the grass field, and then it got twisted. Originally, you think, it's probably an ankle, but then it's reported as a foot sprain. When you're looking at a foot sprain, you're really looking at what we call a midfoot strain. So I don't know if you're going to be able to see my foot. But basically, you have your toes here, you have your heel here, and this is basically the basis of this bridge right here. The midfoot sits right here, right at the top of the bridge. So there's a lot of strain there. Every time you're stepping down, there's a lot of strain through here. So when we've got a midfoot sprain, look at the area right here, and we call this the Lisfranc joint. And that joint is very important because it offers that stabilization of the bridge. So anytime you go to step, anytime you go to walk or run, pivot, there's going to be a lot of force on that bridge, and now it's going to be unstable. There's different grades to it. A grade 1 injury, maybe you're out a week, maybe 2. For a grade 2 injury, you're out about 3 to 4 weeks. Grade 3, which is the worst type of injury, ligaments are torn, you need surgery, that's season ending. So they haven't said anything about surgery on Bucky. So I'm thinking it's a grade 1 or grade 2. So anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks out. Usually what you do is you mobilize it, you put it on crutches, you put it in a boot to keep any pressure from it, and then allow the ligaments to heal up.
Doc, I mean, your answer, that's one of the best answers that we're going to be able to get here on the show today, because people are wondering about Bucky, man. And a buddy of mine and I were talking about using him and overuse, and now we see with the injury there. Do we know, like, when you see injury reports as a doctor, can you kind of decipher what the injuries are without knowing exactly what the injury is? Because of little information, because for us, for a foot sprain, just a casual sports fan, we're like, I don't know if it's the top of the foot, the bottom of the foot. Like, you knew exactly where the wrist tear was for Nick Paul. So because you're in this field, when you get that little bit of information, can you start eliminating other things and kind of you kind of narrow it down to what you think it is?
You can. I mean, I also look at the injury video.
Okay.
I try to find the injury videos, and I try to see the mechanism of injury, because usually the mechanism of injury really starts telling you what happened.
Right.
So that's one of the things so I try to find a video and try to, like, from different angles, just to see what the injury was. And then when you look at the report and they say, oh, it's a midfoot or it's a foot sprain. Well, there's, other than the ankle, and they would call that just an ankle sprain.
Mm-hmm.
When you're looking at the foot, it's usually that middle part of the foot that sprains, especially in that type of mechanism with the foot pointed down and then the twist right as the toes are pointed down on the ground.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Love that. I want to ask you about Tyreek Hill before we get back to the Bucks.
Yeah.
Tyreek Hill saying after that brutal injury that we saw on Monday Night Football against the Jets that he's going to be ready for the 2026 season. And we saw, how similar or dissimilar that was to the injury to Chris Godwin. And we know that he wasn't ready for the start of the 2025 season. So, I mean, obviously guys always want to come back and they think that they can heal quicker than others. And these are world-class athletes. I'm not taking anything away from them, but from what you saw with that injury with Tyreek Hill, how similar was that to the Chris Godwin injury? How long do you think he can be out, or how long do you think he will be out? And do you think there's any realistic possibility that he's ready for week 1 in the 2026 season?
Yeah. So as I was watching the game and I saw the injury happen and he went down on the sideline, at first when I saw the first part of the video, I thought he had done the same thing as Godwin did. I thought he dislocated his ankle because the ankle was pointed 90 degrees away from where it should be. But then as I kept going back and forth on the video, I see the calf was also twisted in the same way as the foot was. So, and then he's grabbing his knee. So then I'm thinking, oh boy, this is probably a knee dislocation. And knee dislocations can be devastating because not only is just the 4 ligaments that are traveling through there, you got nerves, you got blood vessels traveling through there, there's muscles, cartilage, bone. So it depends on what is injured, is the recovery that you're going to expect. In the case of Tyreek, what's reported, it was just ligament injury, no blood vessel injuries, no nerve injuries, no cartilage, no fracture. So ACL plus other ligaments, which probably MCL, LCL, so the outside ligaments injured with it. So surgery done, he's doing well, looking at about a year out, just like any other ACL injury. Nick Chubb had a similar injury in 2015 while playing for the Georgia Bulldogs as a sophomore. Following year, junior, senior years, played really well. Over 1,000 yards rushing each of those seasons. Was drafted by the Browns, has been played in the NFL, had another knee injury 6 seasons in. Now he's playing for the Texans. So you can come back. Now you get Marcus Lattimore, who's playing for South Carolina, had a knee dislocation against Tennessee in 2012. He fell down the draft to the 4th round, but was drafted by the 49ers and never saw an NFL snap.
Right.
So it all depends on what injuries are going on, what happened to that knee, and then the recovery. I mean, all people recover differently.
Doc, man, great background there, buddy. This guy, man, right here, you better be careful. You might be taking my job here with all that NFL knowledge. I love you, buddy. This is great stuff. Yeah, I mean, we'll see about Tyreek, man. He's a freak athlete, so hopefully for him, because the speed is such a huge part of his game. Staying with the wide receivers, let's go to Mike Evans. What we know of as far as his injury, when do you think we could see Mike Evans back? As far, he didn't practice again today, so we knew it was going to take some time. But as far as what we know with Mike and his history of the hamstring injuries,
right,
when do you think we could see him back? And also, I know somebody brought this up today. They play against Seattle, and then they return home, and then the next week they go to Detroit on turf as well. Is that type of thing something to keep in mind as far as his return, or is it one of those things where, like, hey, if he's 100%, regardless of what the surface is, he's going to be back playing?
Yeah, I think it'll be regardless of what the surface is.
Okay,
he'll be there because he's a key player to the Buccaneers offense.
Mm-hmm.
So he injured this week 3 against the Jets. He missed the last game. If you look at last year with a similar, this injury is reported to be not as severe as the one he had last year. He missed 3 games last year. So I do expect him to miss this week, maybe ready for the following game. So if this is not as bad as last year, 2 weeks out is not unreasonable for a hamstring strain. You usually look at about 2 to 4 weeks out. So I don't expect him to play this coming Sunday, but I think by the following week he should be fine.
What do we know about the Jamel Dean injury, Doc? I mean, it says on the injury report yesterday that he's dealing with a hip. I mean, this is a guy where he's much maligned here in the Tampa Bay area because of whether it's his, inability at times to be able to perform as a cornerback, but I think a lot of times it's because he's injured every freaking year. So, but this is a little bit different, dealing with a hip injury. What do we know about Jamel Dean, and what kind of a length of absence could we suspect for him?
Yeah, so what was reported, hip and groin injury. So is it a cartilage issue? Is it a groin sprain? So again, can't really tell what's going on there.
Right.
Now, if we're strictly talking groin injury, mild injuries, you're looking at about 2 to 4 week time period. For moderate injuries, you're looking at longer time, 8 to 12. So hopefully it's just a mild injury. He's out maybe 2 weeks, back in week 3 from the injury. Otherwise, he could be out at least a month.
Oh man, that's terrible. And another guy, Benjamin Morrison, dealing with the rookie corner, young man who was dealing with some injuries coming into his NFL career. He's coming back, he's getting more time, and then he goes out with a hamstring injury. You got to feel for guys like this, man.
Yeah.
You really do, because this is a guy that, he was supposed to be a first round pick. He fell to the second round because he himself had some hip issues. And now he's got the hamstring problem. Is there any correlation between those two injuries, or is this kind of just comes with the territory as being a National Football League player?
Yeah, he had a preseason actually hamstring injury. He was nursing a hamstring injury before the season started. Didn't play week 1. Had some limited activity week 2 and 3 because of Dean's injury. Now he sees increased activity against the Eagles, and ends up re-injuring the hamstring. So it's kind of like when you look at, we talked about it last week with Evans, the re-injury of the hamstring. So it's not uncommon that once you start injuring the hamstring, unless you rehab it really well and really you maintain rehabilitation, taking care of it pretty much on a daily basis, you have recurrence of injury. So with Morrison, unfortunately, he's now re-injured the hamstring. Hopefully, it's just a mild strain. So hopefully just a couple weeks out before we see him back.
Isn't that wild, though, Doc? Like, because you got to figure the Buccaneers, National Football League team, they've got all the doctors, right? They have everything. And I'm sure, they have every doctor, right? Like they take every precaution before Mike Evans comes back or before Jamel Dean comes back. But the body really is so unpredictable, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, and it's all the explosive movements these guys are exposed to. Right. The muscles are put under a lot of strain. Whenever you have that explosive movement on the line or speeding up to get a tackle, the hamstrings are put under a lot of strain. And it's not uncommon that all these guys with big muscles, not a lot of flexibility, the hamstring is going to give.
Yeah, and it's kind of wild too. I mean, and I guess now are we seeing more of these non-contact injuries now, Doc? Are we seeing we're seeing Achilles, we're seeing these knee injuries like Malik Neighbors when he hurts his knee and he just goes to jump up for the ball and he gets rattled. Is it more now than we've seen in the past, these non-contact injuries?
I mean, when you look at the incidence of hamstring injuries, it's usually non-contact. I mean, you see it all the time on track and field. You see athletes running on track and all of a sudden, boom, they blow a hamstring. ACLs are more commonly non-contact. When you look at the incidence of ACL injuries, 4 to 1, non-contact versus contact. Yes, you have the really bad ones can be on contact, but most ACL injuries, both in women and in men, are usually non-contact. It's usually jumping, landing, the knee hyperextends, locks up, and goes the ACL.
Lamar Jackson is another guy. I know all of our fantasy football friends out there they're worried about Lamar. What do we know about him and as far as his recovery?
It's reported that he's also dealing with a hamstring type injury. So maybe 2 to 4 week recovery, probably a grade 1 or 2 injury. The coach didn't want to talk much about it when he was in his coach interview yesterday. So I'm thinking a mild hamstring injury. He did play a little bit after the injury. Yeah. So I think he'll miss this week. He may be back next week.
It was great to meet you in person the other day, heading over there to Evara Health. I mean, it's incredible. Just the facility over there is just top notch. One of the things that you and I were talking about, Doc, was when you have these dislocations, when it comes to these knees, you have to be very cognizant of, you said the nerve damage, right? And because there might be a cause for amputation, right? I mean, just talk about how important it is to go ahead. Talk about how important it is to be able to be on top of that and to realize that it's not just like, oh, you tore your ACL. Like, you have to really make sure that you're looking at everything, or you could lose your leg.
Yeah. So knee dislocations are a big, urgent, emergent evaluation, because the blood vessel that supplies your lower leg courses right through the back of the knee. It's called the popliteal artery. And this artery can be damaged, transected, twisted, torn when you dislocate your knee. And basically, you just now cut off the blood flow to the lower part of the leg. So the first thing that you have to do, you have to get these people to the emergency room, get an arterial scan done on their leg, usually with an MRI, and then make sure that that blood vessel is intact and the blood flow is well, because otherwise, if you miss that, unfortunately, I've seen people that have lost their leg below the knee just because of that. Fortunately, on Tyreek, no blood vessel injury, no nerve injury. And that's the other big thing, because nerves, if you tear any of the two nerves that are traveling through your knee, those tend usually to be more permanent injuries, and you end up with complete weakness, the lower extremity below the knee.
Unbelievable. And Doc, I know we didn't talk about this, but I just wanted to see did you see the injury to the WNBA player last night, Kelsey Mitchell?
No, I did not see that one. I'll go back and take a look at it.
Yeah, definitely go back and check a look at it, because something happened on there, and she just it looked like she just lost. It was almost like she was paralyzed. She couldn't move her legs. She had rhabdomyolysis, RHABD.
Oh, okay.
Rhabdomyolysis, and she put it on social media last night saying, "My muscles stopped producing and reached its maximum capacity. I went into a sense of numbness, paralyzing feeling with no movement from my lower extremities for up to 5 to 7 seconds." I mean, that's got to be wild. You're a high-level athlete. You're deep in the postseason run, and then all of a sudden you can't feel your legs.
That game went into overtime, right?
Yeah.
So basically what happens is you deal with dehydration, body heat building up. And as dehydration sets in, body heat sets in, the muscles start breaking down. So rhabdomyolysis essentially is a breaking down of the muscle fibers and the breaking down of the muscle. So people go into spasms, people go into complete rigidity. And the main treatment is, one, you got to get people cooled off. You got to get people hydrated, because the problem is when the muscles break down, you build up something called myoglobin in your blood vessels. And if that gets into the kidneys and starts precipitating in the kidneys, it can lead to renal failure. So you got to immediately hydrate people. You got to immediately, usually what we do is alkalinize the urine also along with it to prevent the precipitation. But it's a medical emergency to get them treated, because you don't want to continue to have that muscle breakdown because of the danger they can have to the kidneys.
Wow, Doc, that is crazy, man. I'm an amateur. I always said I should study more injuries before I ever got into sports media or anything like that, but I've never heard of that before. Is it rare? Is it very rare?
No, I've seen it mostly out on outdoor events in the heat, especially here in Florida. You have a football game in August. It's 95 degrees outside, 100% humidity, and your body just loses the capacity to dissipate heat completely. Sweat doesn't evaporate. Your body starts building up heat. And as that heat comes in and you're dehydrated, I've seen that happen. I've seen it happen also at the end of triathlons with some of the athletes. We immediately cool them off, start hydration, and basically get them to the hospital so they can continue the hydration process and the cooling process. Because the main thing is we want to prevent the muscles from continuing to break down. So not very uncommon here in Florida and in the hot states, especially during the summertime.
Wow. Unbelievable, Doc. Before I let you go, I want to ask you, we didn't touch on this last week, but we probably should have. The Philadelphia Eagles came down to Tampa a day earlier to try to acclimate to the heat. I wanted to get your opinion on that too, because I've coaching baseball all these years, and you're doing all these things with these kids, and it's 95 degrees. And my big thing was drink a lot of Gatorade, drink a lot of water the day before, 2 days before, right? You try to do it the day of. I think sometimes it might be too late. Is that a myth? Is that real? Can you really? I've been there 20 years, Doc. I still don't think I'm acclimated to the heat and here in the Tampa Bay area. Is that something more of a mental type of thing to make yourself feel better, or is there really a benefit for coming down a day early to help you with this incredible Tampa Heat?
Acclimatization is real. It happens.
Okay.
Now, unless the Eagles have found some secret that nobody knows of, it does not happen in 24 hours.
Okay,
if you look at the recommendations from the American College of Sports Medicine and the National Athletic Trainers Association, it's 7 to 14 days for acclimatization. So a minimum of 7 days up to 14 of back-to-back practices in the environment that you're in. Now, elite level athletes could achieve that a little sooner, but it's usually still about 3 to 5 days at the soonest. Acclimatization, what essentially does, it changes the concentration of your sweat. It changes your sweating parameters. It lowers the core temperature of your body as you're exercising. When you start, lowers your heart rate. So there are physiologic changes that occur for you to be able to acclimatize and do better in the heat. But those things just take time, not 24 hours.
So mentally, probably, right? I mean, there's how much of that too, Doc, is at times where, yeah, maybe there's not a scientific or there's not a certain way, but sometimes can you fool yourself, right? Can you fool yourself to push yourself? I mean, I know that might be more of a psychological type of thing, but I mean,
there's always placebo. I mean, in anything that people do, there's some placebo effect to it. So you may feel like, yeah, I can go a little longer because I came in a day early and I'm used now to the heat. But the physiologic changes aren't there. So what's going to happen is you're probably going to feel great as you start the game. But if you're overdoing it by the end of the game, you're going to be paying the consequences.
No doubt about it. Dr. Carlos Rodriguez, our Evara Health Injury Report every Thursday at 12:30. Doc, I say this to some of my friends that come on and I say, man, you make our show a whole heck of a lot better. Well, that's not only true with you as far as making the show better, but you make us a whole heck of a lot smarter too, my friend. Fantastic job. This has been so much fun. I will send you some more stuff next week. Keep an eye on all the injuries. Now I'm going to be looking at injuries completely different because of our chats here on Thursdays. Thank you so much. Enjoy the game tonight. Have a great weekend, and we'll talk next week.
Appreciate it. Thanks, care,
buddy. Take care, buddy. Unbelievable, man. Unbelievable. If that's not the best segment in sports radio, sports podcasting right now in the Tampa Bay area, show me something better. Show me something better than what we just did for the last 27 minutes. You are not just getting fluff. You're not getting somebody that's coming out here, and I'm talking about me and Dr. Rodriguez. You're not just getting two people out there that are just saying all these crazy things that want to put stuff out there that's going to go viral because we're talking out of our rumpus. We are out here educating everybody out there and talking about the main stories in the world of sports. We're talking hockey. We're talking WNBA. We're talking about NFL. Like, come on, folks. Come on. This is what happens here on the Tampa Bay Sports Podcast of the Year. I'm naming it myself. I don't care. The Jay Recher Podcast. Dr. Rodriguez, the Evara Health Injury Report, every Thursday at 12:30. Insane amount of information. So look at everybody here. David Terry, love the doc talk. Great stuff. That was effing awesome, David Velasquez. All of it, man. You guys are, look at David Terry. I'm learning a bleep load of stuff. All these people out there. Look at Lady Evil, our guy. Very knowledgeable. I am blown away. Dr. Rod and you guys are the best. We love all of the Jaybirds out there that are always tuning into the show. And if you guys see different injuries, let us know throughout the week. And if you see something during the, let's say on a Monday or on a Friday and go, hey, we should ask Dr. Rodriguez about that, remind me, man. We'll bring it up on Thursday during the Evara Health Injury Report right here on the Jay Recher Podcast. Unbelievable. And the great stuff on Bucky Irving too, man. Really good stuff on the foot sprain, the difference between the foot sprain and the ankle sprain. We're going to cut that up and we're going to put that out on social media so everybody knows. Look at Greg DeCruz watching from down in Costa Rica. Right. Greg says, I want to get hurt just so he can diagnose me. No, Greg, we cannot advise that on the program. You cannot do that. Sorry, Greg. We are not. And look at Lady Evil, our guy with the $5 super chat. Best segment. You can't get that anywhere. Thank you, Lady Evil. And thank you to Dr. Rodriguez. Always killing it here on the program here on the Jay Recher Podcast. And we just mentioned Evara Health. So let me tell you a little bit more about Evara Health. I was there the other day, got a chance to meet Dr. Rodriguez in person. And if you like, when you know, right? When you know. And this is about so many different aspects of life, right? We're talking about the job you like, the woman you love, like all these different things. When you know. When I sat in that classroom and I went to the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. I knew that this is what I needed to do. There was a fire in my stomach. I was there. I was 28 years old. I was a successful baseball coach. I was making great money. But broadcasting was always the thing that I was one of those things I was meant to do. Not the only, but one of the things I was meant to do. And again, when you know, you know. And I was there at Evara Health on Tuesday with our guy, Ben, and meeting Dr. Rodriguez. And I'm just listening to Ben talk about Evara Health and all the different things they do and how they help so many different people in Pinellas County. It just felt like I was in the right place. It felt like it was the right partnership. It felt like, man, this is where I need to be. Evara Health it's about to take off, man. It is already taken off, but it's just walking around and seeing how clean it was and how nice everybody was and how they deal with everybody from the cradle to the grave. They're delivering babies there. They're dealing with dentistry, right? You could go to the Evara Health Institute, become a medical assistant, right? It's a school there. Medical institute, or medical assistant, dental assistant, behavioral health technician, a radiation technician, a pharmacy tech. Like, if you're looking for a career, if you don't know where you're going to be as far as your career goes, bro, Evara Health, and that same type of thing. It's way more affordable than these other quote unquote like trade schools that are going to help you with one of those careers. They have 17 locations in the Pinellas County area. They're not your last resort. They're your first resort. And I know some people look at it because they take every type of insurance, and they do have a sliding scale for the uninsured. So people look at it, oh, it's probably a free clinic, and oh, it's probably like second rate. And not at all. Not at all. For all these crazy places that you go and you have to pay these exorbitant amounts for your copay and all these different things, that's not what they're about. They're about helping people. EveraHealth.org, man, go check them out. And if you can tell just through listening to Dr. Rodriguez, the type of people that they have working there, I'm moving all my medical stuff over there. Now, I'm going to go see Dr. Rodriguez about my knee and my ankle. I'm not just going to be a guy that's going to talk about it. I'm being about it. I'm there. I will be there. And I hope you will too, man. If you're looking for somewhere else to go, try it out. EveraHealth.org. Go check it out. Tell them that you heard it right here on the Jay Recher podcast. And I'm just so glad of our partnership. You know, you think about when you bring people on, you're doing business with them, and, you know, you really want to vet the people that you're dealing with, because you want to make sure if you're putting your name on something, that it means something, that you can feel good about sending people to your partner's place of work. I get that with Evara Health. I get that with Honest Hammer Custom Builders, LLC. Russ, our guy, he was the guy that came to me and said, I want to help. I want to help the Jay Recher podcast. I want to keep this thing rolling. I can't thank Russ enough. He will always mean the world to me. I'll always have their back, and he's always had ours. This is a WDAE listener, came here on the Jay Recher podcast, and just going to hang out with him and just talking to him. He's that guy. Like, he's the same, cut from the same cloth as Dr. Rodriguez and Evara Health. Look at David Terry. Double H is the man. We love Hammer. 813-244-0956 for all your residential and commercial needs. If you have a plot of land, you're looking for a new custom build, they can help you. Talk to Russ. The great thing about him is, like, when you're dealing with a business like this and knowing that you're about to invest a shit ton of money, you want to trust the people that you're working with. You want to believe that he has your best interests at heart. With full force and 100% faith, I know that Russ is that type of guy, and the family over there at Honest Hammer Custom Builders. 813-244-0956, thehonesthammer.com, thehonesthammer@gmail.com. Custom bathroom and kitchen renovations. I've heard so many people talk about that. There's no better place to go than Honest Hammer Custom Builders, LLC. And I hope you guys realize, again, I say this a lot, I'm not the type of guy that's going to be blowing smoke. I'm not the type of guy that's going to be pulling stuff out of my ass, or my sources tell me this. And I'm just like, I don't like to deal with coulda, shoulda, woulda, and blah, 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 and this may happen. I'm a fact-driven type of dude. I'm very black and white with certain things. I'm very gray in other things, but I don't want you coming here on this program and think that I'm not believing what I say. I'm not just going to say things to be controversial. I'm not just going to say things to piss you off. I'm going to say things because I believe them, and I think they're interesting, and I think they're informative, and I think you can gain some perspective as well. And that's why you listen to Benny and Dave Terry and Greg DeCruz and all these people and you guys and what you say and all these great things, Sergio Beltras and all you out there, Dave Velasquez, Nate Elliott, all you guys, the guys that are here every single day, Lady Evil, like you guys. This is the reason why this works. Because I say what I mean, and I mean what I say. I'm mostly a Buckaholic, but you're converting me into a Lightning fan. I won't tell you who I follow in hockey because I might get banned. You Toronto. I know you follow Toronto. It's okay. I don't like Toronto because of my Lightning days, but it is what it is. Great stuff, guys. Great stuff. And big thank you to our partners again, Evara Health and Honest Hammer. MLB playoff talk real quick before our guy, Ben Pierce, joins us on the program. We already have one series in the books. LA beats the Reds. No surprise there. It's a huge mismatch, but a great job by Terry Tito Francona and the Cincinnati Reds for a heck of a season. It was all hands on deck. It really was. So good for them. Really was good for them. We'll start with Tigers Guardians. Tigers are able to win game 1. Guardians be able to bounce back in game 2. Game 3, the decider today at 3 o'clock on ABC, this AL Central matchup. You have jumping Jack Flash. You know where it's at. Jack Flaherty on the mound for the Detroit Tigers. And a guy that I faced many years ago, Slade Ciccone. And Slade was funny because his mom used to, this is crazy that he's pitching today. Because a buddy of mine told me yesterday, he's like, you know what we used to do with our arm? We used to bathe our arm in milk. And I was like, the last time I heard that was from Slade Ciccone's mom when he was like 11 or 12 years old. We were out in Orlando, and she's like, Jay, it works. And I was like, okay, whatever. I'm not one of those people, like, it may be unconventional, but unconventional things work, right? Moises Alou used to pee on his hands. Antonio Margarito, the boxing guy, used to drink his own pee. I got to get the nutrients. I'm good. But to each their own, right? Who are we to judge? But look at Slade now, pitching in game 3 of the AL wildcard series against the Detroit Tigers. Good for him, man. Good for his family as well. 5 o'clock. Padres and Cubbies. Cubbies, Padres, Cubbies. What a matchup here. Yu Darvish facing off with one of his old teams against Jameson Taillon. Oh, man. In game 1, I'm going to go with, damn, this is tough. I just think the bats for Detroit, I just don't think there's enough there, but Cleveland doesn't really wow you a ton with the offense too. I'll just give it the home field advantage. I think Cleveland wins this one here. I think the Padres will be a little bit too much here on the road. I think this is when your big players step up and step out, and you saw that with Manny Machado, right? That's the type of guy where, all right, you're looking around, who is going to be that man? Who is going to be that guy? Now, to be fair, going back, right? If Cleveland comes out and they win the game because Jose Ramirez leads the way, then you go, okay, well, of course, he rose to the occasion, okay? But I think it's easier to tell when you look at this Padres-Cubbies series. When you look at Manny Machado and you say, all right, buddy, you should be the best player in this series. Now go out and do it. A 3-0 win for them yesterday. Look out for Kyle Tucker, man. He's got something to prove. This could be his last game in a Chicago Cubs uniform. Could he be, and I told you guys this months ago, could he be an option for the Tampa Bay Rays? For what I'm hearing, as far as the Rays and their payroll and things like that, I don't think it's a realistic possibility now. Kyle Tucker being here with the Tampa Bay Rays, unless they have one of those big-time deferring type deals that we saw with Shohei Ohtani. You heard it from Rich Hollenberg yesterday. There might be some lean years for the Tampa Bay Rays because these guys aren't going to be able to splash money on the payroll because they have to figure out the whole stadium thing first. Going to be a hell of a game Fernando Tatis leading off, Luis Arias, Manny Machado, Jackson Merrill, Kyle Tucker, Seiya Suzuki, Pete Crow Armstrong, Ian Happ. What a matchup between these two lineups. But I'm going to go with the Padres on the road to win this one 3-0. Oh, they won yesterday 3-0, but I think just that the star power is going to be a little bit too much. And then tonight, Game 3, just how we all drew it up. Connolly early and Cam Schlittler. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, those are the guys. And let me just say this. I didn't get to it on the program yesterday, but I got into it a little bit on social media. I don't think Aaron Boone's a great manager. But from what happens as far as sitting Jazz Chisholm and Ben Rice in game 1 against Garrett Crochet, I had no problems with it. I didn't. You have to go with some of your righties that you have for that purpose. Ahmed Rosario was a 300 hitter against left-handed pitching in his career. This is the reason why you went to go get the guy. We know here in the Tampa Bay area that he smashes left-handed pitching. He was 6 for 9 against Crochet. I don't know if anybody had a better batting average against Garrett Crochet in Major League Baseball than Ahmed Rosario. And here you go, Jazz Chisholm 0 for 3 with 0 for 4 3 ponchos. Like, yeah, he did great in game 2 last night, but that wasn't game 1. And if he goes 0 for 3 with 3 strikeouts, just like Grisham was 0 for 4 with 4 strikeouts. If Jazz Chisholm does that in game 1, people are going, then why the hell do you have Ahmed Rosario on the roster? Right? It's easy after the fact to say, I would have done this or I would have done that. Armchair quarterback is the best position in all of sports. You sit there and you can tell everybody what the right thing is. Easy to say that. Easy. Game 2, Jazz Chisholm makes up for it. He was 0 for 3, gets on base via the walk, and then scores on a double by Austin Wells. The Yankees end up winning 4-3 over the Boston Red Sox. Game 3 tonight, all eyes are going to be on the Boogie Down Bronx. And for me and my money, I think, let me start by saying this. A couple of weeks ago on the show, before the playoffs started, I told you there was one team in the American League that I was worried about just because they play like their hair's on fire and they're very athletic. And that was the Boston Red Sox. And it pained me down to my core to say something nice about that team in that city. But, man, at this time of the year, if you could put pressure on the defenses, you can put pressure on the opposing pitching staffs, I mean, you can be a factor. And we saw it when they won the World Series in 2004 against the greatest closer of all time, Dave Roberts, getting on base and stealing second. And, you know, I'm getting like Stockholm Syndrome talking about that. But it happens, man. And you saw it. Speed kills at every level. It happened last night with Jazz Chisholm, and that's part of the reason why the Yankees look to overhaul their roster or even just kind of change their roster a little bit and get a little bit more athletic. Going to get Jose Caballero at the trade deadline, bringing in guys like Cody Bellinger, bringing in guys like the aforementioned Jazz Chisholm the last couple of years. You got to be more athletic. You have to be able to win in multiple ways. You can't just depend on the long ball all the time. I'm going to go with the Yankees tonight to win this game. I think Aaron Judge is seeing the ball really well. He just hasn't gotten any of that lift to be able to drive the ball out of the ballpark. But Cam Schlittler's got some incredible stuff. And I still think Aroldis Chapman is just one pitch away. He loaded the bases the other night. I know he was able to wriggle out of it, but still, I mean, it's still Roldy, and it'll only take one opportunity for them to be. I mean, they got 3 hits on him, so just one of those goes out of the yard. We're having a different conversation today, and the Yankees are probably all done. So a really good matchup tonight. So check that out. We also have a ton. Listen, this is what's great about Thursday night. This time, beginning of October, obviously we have the final preseason home game for the Tampa Bay Lightning. The home opener is next week. Next Thursday against the Ottawa Senators. We got Thursday Night Football tonight and MLB playoffs. Man, there is no shortage of things on the tube. And you know me being a big TV guy. Somebody just said the other day, yeah, I'm not a big TV person. I go, don't look at me thinking that I'm going to agree with you, because I'm that guy that has every streaming service. I have TVs in every freaking portion of the house. And you bet your sweet ass that tonight I will have my TV on the Lightning game, my laptop on the Yankee game, and my phone on the football game. And you never know. I might break out my other laptop for some other sporting event, maybe some wrestling, maybe some TNA wrestling. You never know. That's just kind of how I roll. All right, let's bring him in. Some really, really good stuff every single time he joins the program. Let's make sure we can get him full screen. It's our guy, Benny. Ben Pierce in the house, talking some Lightning hockey. What's going on, pal? How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, man. I am so jacked up about Lightning season. I'm so happy that we're getting closer and closer to opening night. And of course, you guys know Ben, beat writer and manager of media relations for the Tampa Bay Lightning. What was the big story? What was the big takeaway from morning skate today, my brother?
Well, the big thing is the Lightning are getting healthy, right?
Yes.
I think everybody's been talking about Vasilevsky not being on the ice. He's been on the ice now 2 days in a row with the team. So that's the big thing, is seeing Vasi out there. And he's not the only one. Obviously, just a day ago, we saw Dominic James and Pontus Holmberg both out there in red no contact jerseys. Both of those guys were on the ice today in regular practice jerseys. Now, Holmberg didn't skate with the game group today. Dominic James did, so I would expect to see Dominic James in the lineup tonight, probably not Pontus Holmberg. But the fact that there were no red jerseys and Vasilevsky skated is a great sign, because obviously the best way to start any season is fully healthy. So knock on wood, but things are progressing correctly in that way. So I'd say if you're a Lightning fan, you got to like what you're seeing, particularly on the health front for the Tampa Bay Lightning so far.
What do we think about a guy like Victor Hedman? I know he still hasn't out there. Any worries or trepidation there about Heddy?
I don't think so. I think especially because, like Coop said, he expected to see these guys later in the week, and he included Victor Hedman in that statement. He was talking about Heddy and Pontus Holmberg when he said it, and Pontus took the ice today. I don't want to speculate, but I think with Victor Hedman too, I would expect to see him back out there pretty quickly. The other thing is, obviously, the Hedman family lost a pretty special part of their family with their pet. Harry, the big part of the Lightning family, and you see him on t-shirts all over the place. So I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but want to send our thoughts out to the Hedman family as they go through that as well. So, but the big thing is, John Cooper said the other day, he expected him and Holmberg back by the end of the week. So I'll take Coop at his word on that one.
Yeah, no doubt about it. We mentioned it earlier today on the program of, Harry, our guy, passing over the Rainbow Bridge last night. And we know how important that he was to the entire Hedman family and the work that Victor does in the Humane Society. And it's just our hearts, really do go out to the whole family over there. And yeah, I'm with you. I'm not too overly concerned about Victor's availability for next Thursday. And, Ben, to be honest with you, going into the season, I was still like, all right, well, I don't know where I wasn't as bullish. I was very bullish on the Bucks. I thought they were going to have a really good year. Seems like we're on our way to that happening. And one of the things I really wanted to see, Ben, that I haven't seen the last couple of years is I wanted to see some push from underneath. I wanted to see guys pushing to get into the lineup. I wanted to see guys that are like, hey, if a guy's not playing well, he's going to go down, or a guy's going to sit and another guy's going to go in. And I know a lot of that has to do with the salary cap and how close the Bolts have been up to it. But man, they've quelched all of my concerns in that aspect, because we've seen so many different players that maybe we didn't think we were going to be a factor in, making tough roster decisions. And even some of the guys that got sent down. I mean, Benny, some of these guys that aren't the Kucherov and Points of the world and Gensels of the world and Hagels of the world, like, they've really impressed so far. Who's really stood out to you?
I think the big one for me is a guy that we didn't really know much about when camp started, and that's Wojtek Stachowiak.
Yeah.
And this is a guy that did get sent down this week to the American Hockey League with the Syracuse Crunch now, but he's played professionally in Germany now the last 6 seasons, and he said he wanted to make this team, but he's got the second most points on the Lightning this preseason. We saw a 3-point game out of him earlier in the preseason. Like, knowing that you have that guy stashed in the American Hockey League, he can come up and play games if you need it. He's played professional hockey before. He's got dreams of playing for Germany in the Olympics this winter. Like, the fact that you have that as a recall option is great. Now you throw in the fact that you've got Boris Tkachuk, a guy who this organization knows really well, who played really, really well in the preseason when we saw him. He's a recall option. I think he showed really well, and everybody really talked about that part of it. Jack Finley, for me, though, I think that has been the big highlight of camp for me, the person that I've really been watching. And I wrote a story about it this week, particularly in the faceoff circle. No player this preseason has played more games and has taken more faceoffs for the Tampa Bay Lightning than Jack Finley. And if you don't think that's intentional, you're wrong. Because listen, the Tampa Bay Lightning this offseason, they didn't make many changes to their roster. They really like this group, and they've said as much all offseason. We think we're close. We're really just kind of tinkering on the edges. One change they did make was they let their best faceoff guy go in 37-year-old Luke Glendening.
Right.
Now, Luke Glendening has long been a faceoff expert in the NHL. He's really made a career out of it. He's so good at it. And when he was here last year, he spent a lot of time working with the younger Bolts like Connor Geekie on here's how you can get better at this. And Jack Finley has spent a lot of time the last couple of years working on faceoffs. It's something he really wants to be good at. He's got the big frame. The guy's 6'6". If he can carve out that role in that bottom six where he's going to come in and win the big faceoff, kill some penalties. I mean, the other night, forgive me, I can't remember off the top of my head now if it was against Florida or Nashville, but he was the lone forward on a 3-on-5 penalty kill. Now, I get, again, it's preseason. You're not dressing your full NHL lineup. But he's a 23-year-old guy trying to crack an NHL roster, and if he's killing a two-man disadvantage, two-man penalty kill, they've got trust in this guy. Right. And I think we're seeing that. He hasn't scored yet this preseason. He's not on the score sheet. But quite frankly, on this Lightning roster, you don't need to be scoring 15 to 20 goals in this bottom six to be a productive member of this team. If you play responsibly in the defensive zone, especially if you're a center, you're playing responsibly, you're winning faceoffs, you're doing your job, and then you can chip in some offense as well. That's great. But on the other side of that, Jack Finley can also play on the wing. Mm-hmm. Tonight, based on the morning skate today, it looks like we might see Dominic James, another guy who's really shined at camp. And I know you mentioned it. You asked Coop about it the other night after the game. We could see some guys moving around. And you mentioned the cap space. The fact that the Lightning have this depth, the fact that they've got the ability to carry some extra bodies, you got to be pretty excited because that inner competition is going to be there all year long. And it's just going to push guys to continue to grow, whether you're in the top six, the bottom six, a guy on the top line in the American Hockey League, you're going to get opportunities to play all year long. And that's what's really important with this team is you have to be playing your best. And if you're not, somebody else might be trying to take your job.
Yeah, that in-team competition, that friendly competition, I think is what every good team needs. And we've seen that with Florida the last couple of years, man. They've really cycled guys in on that bottom six during the postseason. It's another way to stay fresh as well. You mentioned Connor Geekie. I want to ask you about him because I have aspirations of, I think Connor Geekie in the long run should be on the first line with Point and Kucherov because I feel like he brings that physical. He's a bigger guy, kind of the Andre Palat type of player. And then I would love to see Gensel with Hagel Sorelli. And then that bottom six, I mean, you have so many different options there. But we're looking at a third line guy. I know it's just a morning skate today. It looked like he was taking fourth line rushes, and it was on the wing, I think. So where are we at with Connor Geekie as far as his progression? We know he made the team last year. We know he got sent down. Valuable experience there at the AHL. Talking a lot with Connor Sheary there, and it's pretty cool to see Connor Sheary doing really well with the Rangers now. He could make that team. But where are we at with Connor Geekie as far as his development, and where do you think his role will be at the least in the very start of the season, Ben?
I think it's going to be pretty fluid, right? I think it's going to be similar to last season. But the thing with Connor Geekie is I know people are really excited about Connor Geekie, and they should be. I think even this preseason, we've seen improvement from the player we saw at the end of last year. And he made a lot of strides over the course of last season from when he first got here. But people forget sometimes that hockey's not like a lot of other sports where if you draft a guy in the first round, you expect that player to be in your opening night lineup that season, right? It's typically a league where unless you're a top 5 pick, you expect that player usually to go back to juniors for a year or two, maybe spend a year in the American Hockey League, develop, and then come up at an older age. Connor Geekie's only 21 years old, which is really hard to forget when you look at him because he does have that big body and he does play that rough and tumble. He looks like an NHL player. Obviously, the missing teeth helps that part of the equation. But,
no doubt.
He looks like an NHL player, and that's a big part of the math. Is does he look the part? And he does. It's just a matter of putting it all together. He's only 21. He still has time to do it, and we see flashes of it. Like, whoa! If the skating and the physicality and the shot and the defense all comes together, you could have a top line player. And we saw it in junior. When he played in the WHL, he was a phenomenal player, and that's why he was a first-round pick. That's why he was such a highly touted prospect and why the Lightning were so excited to get him. And they still see a lot of potential there. And even like John Cooper said, I believe it was in Orlando, he said like Connor Geekie at 21 years old is already so far ahead of the curve for his age. You know, like people might see him playing further down the lineup and think like, why is he down there at this age? But he's only 21. And I think we forget that. It's easy to see like, oh, we got this exciting prospect, this exciting young forward who just played 50 games. Why isn't he further up the lineup? Well, I'll tell you why he's not up further up the lineup. Jake Gensel, Nikita Kucherov, Braden Point, go down the list. Like realistically, you want him to learn how to play. And again, if he's going to play next to a guy like Yanni Gourde, Oliver Bjorkstrand, and we've seen him on some special teams this preseason too. And it's not the worst thing in the world if Connor Geekie plays 12 to 15 minutes a night in the bottom six and then sees time on special teams as well and learns how to be that player who can play on the power play, whether it's at the net front or up top, learns how to kill penalties. And then he's a more well-rounded player too. Like it's not a bad thing. And he's still just so young. I'm really excited to see what he does this year. I thought he had a great rookie year. And even in the way that last year he handled that demotion, if you will, if that's what you want to call it, to Syracuse and came back up and really took control again at the end of the year, you got to love it. And they talked about it all summer long. Like that's exactly how we want players to handle that. He did fantastic. He was a monster in the American League last year when he went down there, almost a point per game player. He belongs in the NHL, I believe, to start the season. I fully believe that. He believes it. He wants to be here. But he's also said, like, I'm not taking anything for granted. I'm going to keep trying to get better every single day. Yeah. And you see him, he's one of those guys after practice that he's always working on the little things, the face-offs, the quick foot, the turning out of the corner, getting the shot off a little bit quicker. And his shot is maybe the one thing I've been most impressed with this preseason. It's got a little extra zip on it. So I'm interested to see maybe if we see some more goals out of Connor Geekie this season.
Oh, I love that. I love that. So, yeah, we talk about the bottom six. I want to ask you about the third pairing. I think we have an idea that it's going to be Hedman, Moser, and then McDonough and Chernak. And, you know, we're looking at that, you know, that third D pairing now, right? We know they really like, the Bolts really like Lilleberg, and we know that not this past year, but the year before in the playoffs, like that chemistry with him and Crozier. But let's not forget, we got Darren Radish, who scored a goal the other night. He's been around. He's been in the system for a long time. And then Declan Carlisle, and we were joking upstairs, Declan Carlisle. I love the emphasis on the Paul Porter the other night called him Declan Carlisle. Like, oh, okay, I didn't know he switched up the emphasis on the pronunciation there. But what do you make of that third D pairing, Ben? Is it going to be as fluid as you just said with Connor Geekie? Because I think that there's probably 8 guys for 6 spots there when it comes to the entire D corps.
Again, for an organization that I think a lot of people rag on for, they haven't had many draft picks in the last couple of years, or maybe they don't develop as well. They just go out and they trade all their picks and they go and get all these guys externally. You got to give so much credit to this scouting group and to Julian Brisebois and everybody in this organization for what they've done. When you look at this defensive group, you've got 8 guys, possibly more than that when you look down in the American League and what we saw in the preseason, that if you needed to, could step in and play an NHL game today. There aren't a ton of NHL teams out there that have that.
Right.
They might have 7, but to go beyond 7, there's a lot of teams in this league that don't feel super comfortable with their 7th defenseman, right? There's a reason that a lot of teams don't feel comfortable carrying 7 defensemen. A lot of them have to call up somebody if somebody gets hurt. In Tampa Bay this year, I think that's one of the big questions is, are we going to see, like we did last year, are we going to see 12-6? Are we going to see 11-7? 12 forwards, 6 defensemen, 11 forwards, 7 defensemen. Does it change depending on who you're playing on a given night? I would think we start at 12-6, but at the same time, I don't know, because Darren Radish has become such a good part of this power play. That's one of the best in the NHL. He's coming off a career year offensively, and he doesn't have maybe the physicality that you would get from a guy like Emil Lilleberg, who's really cemented himself on that third pair physically. And he had a great year last year. But Darren Radish is so good with the puck, and he's really kind of cemented himself on that second power play unit. But Max Crozier this camp's been really, really good. Like, he looks NHL ready. And then you watch Declan Carlisle, and he blends right in with the NHL guys too. So I think it's really good. And Coop said, I believe it was like the second or third day camp, he's like, the best decisions are the ones that are tough on us, because it means we've got a good group of guys in this room that are making our choices hard and difficult. And that's what we want. And that's going to be a tough decision of, well, how do you get from 8 to 7? And if you have to, how do you make 7 to 6? I honestly think it's probably going to be a matchup game all year long of who do we play tonight? What does it look like? What's their penalty kill, their power play? How are we going to sort this out? But if you're the Lightning, you've got to be thrilled with the fact that you've got 8, maybe 9 guys that on any given night could step in and play an NHL game for you this year on the back end, because that is something that not many NHL teams have, especially to start a year. Maybe midway through when a guy gets 40, 50 games in the American League, but to start the year that way, you got to be thrilled with that if you're a Lightning fan.
We agree with our guy Benny. This guy knows what he's talking about. You get that right, Benny. This guy's name is Benny too. Our guy thought 3, 4, 5. Greg, Jay is the best gets. Always learn something. Hell, maybe I'll even give soccer a try. Watch out, Greg the Cruz in the house. I want to ask you about the division now, Benny, because listen, going into the year, you're like, all right, well, Florida, they're obviously ruling the roost, but the injury to Barkov is just you can't make. He's the captain of a Stanley Cup team. Like you don't make up for that very easily. And Matthew Tkachuk obviously is going to be out for a while too. And they do have some guys, and they brought back all of their free agents, but Marchand and Ekblad ain't getting any younger out there either, right? So they're going to be heavily relying on those guys, and neither is a guy like Sergei Bobrovsky between the pipes. And then Toronto, with Marner now being in Vegas, and then you look at some of these other teams, yeah, they could close the gap a little bit. We see with Montreal and Ottawa and what they're doing, and whatever happens with Buffalo and Detroit and the rest, right? I feel like the door is really open for the Lightning to win this division. And I think that the impact of winning the division is something that they haven't been able to really use the last couple of seasons, because they played the eventual Stanley Cup champion in the first round. So it was like, as soon as that first puck drop, it was like, you're in. We know playoff hockey is a different animal, but man, you got to play your best right off the rip. There's no dipping your toe into it. How important is it for this team to be able to get off to a fast start, munch those points, as Coop likes to say, and win this division, Benny? Because I think the opportunity is right there. Do you agree with that sentiment?
100%. And I think, honestly, say what you will, Tampa versus Florida, I don't ever want to see a guy like Barkov go down to injury. He's one of the best players in the NHL. He's unbelievably defensively, I really feel for him for the Olympic side of things too. He was going to go captain for Team Finland, and you never want to see a player of that caliber go down. It's really unfortunate. But if you're the Tampa Bay Lightning, it does open a door, an opportunity. They're your in-state rival, a team that just won back-to-back Stanley Cups and has knocked you out of the playoffs now. The door is there. And the Atlantic Division, the other part of it too, is you look at a team even like Ottawa that's been knocking on the door a couple of years. When are they going to really step up as a power here? When are they going to turn the corner? And they're a team that's super hungry this year. They have also got a Tkachuk brother who's looking to start feasting on the Atlantic Division.
Right.
And he talked last playoffs about watching Matthew do this makes me want this even more. I am even that much hungrier watching my brother win back to back that now I want to do this. So the Atlantic Division is one of the best divisions in hockey. I think anybody in the NHL would tell you that. It's going to be another great year, another tough year. I think for the Lightning, it's just a matter of taking care of business every single day. And how often, I don't know how many times this year we're going to hear process over outcome. I'm sure we'll hear it once or twice. That's one of the go-to lines over the course of the year for Coop. But they really believe in this group. And at the media day at the start of the year, Julian Breezebois said as much. He said, part of the reason that we brought back this roster is because we believe in this group of guys.
Right.
We didn't make any big, sweeping, massive changes because we believe in the guys in this locker room. And they believe in it too. They have a sour taste in their mouth from the way that last year ended, because they felt last year that they were really going to make some noise, and it didn't happen. Obviously, you're going up against a team like that. What a first round matchup. I know it was only 5 games, but you look at that crazy comeback in the one game. It was a great series. And I know it was only 5 games, but we got to see some great hockey, and these guys are motivated. I think you want that top seed. You want to get one of those wild card teams for sure. But at the same time, it's maybe if you don't, you're still going into this knowing we're playing an Atlantic Division team that last year the point differential was pretty slim between those second, third, fourth teams. It wasn't like one team had 21 points and then there was a massive gap between the wild card teams. Like, other than that last wild card spot, it was a really tight race all the way down to game. I think it was 81 was when they finally had those top three locked in. Like, it was close. It was tight between the division race. So we'll see what happens. You want that top division spot for sure every single year. It's just going to be a matter of, can we take care of business? And obviously health is a big part of that. Again, knock on wood, the Lightning are entering game one, hopefully with a fully healthy lineup. And if they do that, there's no reason they can't compete again for an Atlantic Division crown.
Ben, before I let you go, I know you're watching more than just the Tampa Bay Lightning as far as the NHL goes. Who's that one player or one team that you're keeping an eye on this season?
That's really tough for me. I honestly, there's one that really intrigues me in the Western Conference. And I think it's the St. Louis Blues.
Okay.
Because last year we saw, first off, the offer sheets were insane. And growing up, I cheered for the Edmonton Oilers. So that one peeved me a little bit when it happened originally. But Dylan Holloway went to the University of Wisconsin. So again, as a Wisco guy, that was a big, I enjoyed watching him play. But that's a team that I think has a pretty good combination of youth, and they've got the physicality you like to see. Obviously, Jordan Binnington's got the grit in net. It's kind of that old-fashioned, old-style goalie. I think the guy would wear one of those cheap Halloween goalie masks if he could, right? I think that's a team that's going to be fun to watch this year, regardless of what happens, and they're just fun to watch. That's a team that I'm pretty intrigued, and they've got some decisions to make as well, contract-wise. So the St. Louis Blues intrigue me in the Western Conference, and on the other side of that too, I think in the Eastern Conference, man, the New Jersey Devils. There's been lots of conversations about the Hughes brothers. Obviously, they take care of the Luke Hughes situation this week, just in the last day. So it'll be interesting to see if they can get over the hump as well. And I think it's going to be another great NHL season, and I can't wait to get going here. 1 week from today, let's go.
That's right, man. Yeah, I mean, that's probably the worst kept secret in hockey. Quinn's like saying all the right things. Yeah, this is great. It'll just be a matter of time before he's playing there in New Jersey with his two brothers. The Hughes brothers reunite. That'll be pretty fun. The one and only Ben Pierce, man, crushing it as always for our Tampa Bay Lightning, the beat writer. You can follow him. Benjamin J. Report. Bro, I was trying so hard to find you on Instagram. I follow you on Instagram. And I have followed you for a long time, but I could not for the love of me find today. So what I did, I searched Ben and Benjamin and Pierce and Lightning. Then what I had to do is I had to go all the way to Gabby Shirley's Instagram.
Followers.
I'm going through all the Gabby stuff of all the likes. And then I was like, BJP, that's what it is. I'm like, oh my God, it was a labor of love. And I'm sitting here dying laughing like, bro, Ben, everything else, Benjamin J. Report, Ben Pierce, we got him everywhere. And then BJP totally threw me off. And I usually take pride in like remembering my friends' like handles and stuff like that. And for the love of me, BJP was nowhere near my brain today. But I got it, buddy. And
we're locked in now, though. Hey, it's preseason for everybody, Jay. We're good to go now.
You got that right, buddy. Ben, I always appreciate your time, man. Have a good time tonight. I'll see you next Thursday at Benchmark International Arena for the season opener, Lightning and Sens. Appreciate you, buddy. Talk soon.
Looking forward to it, man. Thank you.
You got it. Ben Pierce, he's all over it, man. We're so blessed to have a guy like that as our beat writer for the Bolts, man. He is just so passionate. He's always there. He's just busting his ass every single day to bring you the best coverage here for our Tampa Bay Lightning. It is raining here, and if you've seen some of the little bit of the change of the color here, it's usually nice and bright with this light in front of me and also the window in front of me, but it is raining, which is a good thing at times, right? We need it here in the Tampa Bay area. All right, guys, this is going to wrap it up for me. I got to get some food. Your boy is hungry. I love you all, man. This has been a really fun show today. What a great show with Benny Pierce. What a great job of Dr. Rodriguez. Make sure you follow me on all social media platforms, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, Instagram. Like and subscribe on YouTube. Come on, man. We got to get to 2,000 subscribers. A big thank you to our partners at Honest Hammer, Custom Builders, LLC, and Evara Health. Really, really good stuff there. Tomorrow on the program, Scott Reynolds from Pewter Report is going to join us. Maybe a couple more. That's why you got to follow me at J Recher. All right, guys, it's going to wrap it up for me. Be safe if you're driving here in the Tampa Bay area dealing with this rain. I can't thank you all for the support. And a big thank you to Lady Evil for the $5 super chat. Keep those super chats coming, baby, because that's the way we're going to keep this thing rolling. And keep your eyes out for the new merch and for the stuff on the website. Really, really good stuff with the memberships. It'll be here before you know it. Again, at JRetro on all social media platforms. Everybody have a wonderful rest of your Thursday here in the Tampa Bay area or abroad. And we'll see you tomorrow at noon right here on the JRetro Podcast.